I turn. Okay. G4.
Test.
This is where they play the commercials.
Every talk show, every
Yeah.
documentary, every.
Is this what I can? Is that how you light?
That's good. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Awesome. My pack. Okay, my pack.
If you want to turn it on.
There we go.
I can't hear you.
So you open this.
I do. Just.
I did theater in high school.
Same.
Yeah.
Test 1, 2.
Thank you, folks.
Either cool. It's like I'm a high school. Just
Yeah, but just like how hot is the light bulb going to get it in? It's not hot. Okay, great. I'll sacrifice the scarf. That's okay for scarf. Does that help? Maybe double it. Huh? Maybe double it.
It is already doubled.
There's not enough light. And it's already doubled.
We're giving Stevie Nicks.
Is it? I feel like it takes on too much. Sean, how's it looking? Sean?
It's a big test because it fits the camera.
So you want it up? Or does
Yeah,
it?
that's better.
Or maybe off the back?
Yeah. Yeah.
That better?
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Volunteers. You gotta put the light.
Okay. Test.
Test.
Listen, when the iPhone doesn't recognize your face, you know your beat's good. Right? Okay, test. Welcome, everyone, to the 3rd annual Dragon Spirituality Summit 2024. You may applaud. And all of our folks at home, welcome. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. And, first, second, third's a charm. So here we are. I have my wonderful, fabulous congregation today here at Emmanuel College. We thank Emmanuel College again for hosting this year in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Rooting for the maple syrup, eh? And I will apologize a million times. So thank you for being here. And thank you, Emmanuel College, for also welcoming us and hosting us in this beautiful historic space to add to not queer history, but queer legacy with this conference. So, my name is Disco Jesus Windsor, born Adam Adamo, Italian Hungarian, and I am Windsor's Ontario premier theatrical drag performance artist of the last 7 years, having celebrated my 7th drag anniversary just the other week. God bless and thank you to Tim Curry and Rocky Horror for starting this all for me. Yes. And I am absolutely honored and thrilled to be here. I grew up watching 2020. I grew up watching Dateline. I grew up watching 60 Minutes. And Barbara Walters will continue to be my inspiration, as I've been referred to as the Barbara Walters of drag when it comes to questions. So I'm very honored, and this is a little fangirl moment. I love you, Barbara Walters. I'm very honored to be here. I am here with 2 incredible drag artists and special guests today before all of you. Thank you so much. Siren, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
me.
it. And Avaiyah Curves, thank you so much for being here. We are honored to have an amazing discussion that we want to be thought-provoking and introspective for all of you. So let's laugh, let's cry, and might have a little boogie too. Let's get to it. Thank you both for being here today. Really, really appreciate this, and honored to have you both as my first guests for an open drag discussion and interview. If we could start with the thesis and epicenter of today's conversation and interview being drag, spirituality, and mental health. Can you both start by reintroducing yourselves and your name in drag, your human name out of drag you wish to share, your pronouns in and out of drag, and your age and where you're coming from for the summit.
So my name is Jeriana Siren Arawan, but you can just call me Siren. That's my name in drag. And then out of drag, my name is Jericho. My pronouns in drag are she, her, they, them. And then out of drag, I use any. I'm very fluid with it. So I've been doing drag, I think, for only like a year and 8 months. So I'm still fairly new.
Just a baby.
Yeah. But I had been like cross-dressing for since high school. I'm 22 right now, but I've been cross-dressing since I was like 15. And that started because I thought it was funny that I looked really hot when I dressed up. And then I was like, oh no, it's a gender thing. It's a gender thing.
I love that you're sharing that. My drag birth ultimately started as a result of my theatrical background, in addition to my love and passion for all things thrifted, all things thrift shopping and hunting and seeking and vintage shopping. And then this layer of androgyny eventually led me to wanting to bring my inspirations to life in drag. So I love that you were able to harness it when it comes to your art form, but also with your identity as well.
Yeah, thank you. It was pretty easy because I did theater in high school. I was mentioning that earlier.
I know theater. Yeah. I understand when I see them. There's going to be a musical number break. I promise you. I wear the wicked shoes for today.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the 8 count.
Yeah. Come on, Drag Race.
And then I think that's really it. No, I if I had more of a drag history, I would share it. But honestly, I'm still figuring things out. I'm still pretty new to everything.
We're just going to keep going while there we go. Can you hear me now? Thank you. One of my infamous lines that I started with, actually, that I would like to ask everyone here and at home while we do this microphone issue worked out. I always like to say, which is kind of perfect, my opening line has been, is this thing on? Is this thing on? And everyone says, good, because I wanted to know. So we're going to do it as a test, okay? Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
Good, because I wanted to know.
There is coffee in the lounge for all y'all to help wake us all up after. This is day 1, folks. We've all been up very, very early preparing our faces, our minds, our bodies, our hearts for today. So we're just starting day one of this entire experience. So more energy is going to come, and the coffee will flow as the days go on as well. I was not actually a coffee drinker. Actually, fun question while we're doing some additional tech. Coffee, tea, Pepsi, Coke?
Pepsi's fine. Pepsi's fine.
Pepsi.
Well, I'll tie it into my introduction. So
Yeah.
I'm Avaiyah Curves. I go by she, her in drag. My birth name is Anthony, and I am 32, I believe. And yeah, for me, I think I love all those drinks. Why not? You never know. You never know when you'll need a cold Pepsi. You never know when you'll need a cold Coke.
I'm so
I
addicted.
find certain pops go with certain meals.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah. And then of course, who doesn't like tea or coffee?
And tea and coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for both being here today. This is an honor and privilege, and I'm excited to have this amazing conversation with you all. So thank you for sharing about yourselves. Again, everyone, we're going to do this when we need to. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Because I wanted to know. Fantastic.
Answer the tea and coffee thing. I'm so addicted to Tim Hortons iced coffee. It's not even funny.
Same.
You know, you learn where you go for what, right? You know what your order is going to be from McDonald's. Their coffee has been slaying as of recently. You know what your Starbucks order is going to be. And like, you know, you go to McDonald's because you want the good fries
Right.
after the gig.
Absolutely.
But you know you're going to go to your favorite place for shawarma, right? So it's kind of like shopping now. You got to get a little bit of something from everywhere, and you have a little buffet, right, of drinks or food. So absolutely. Love McDonald's coffee, love Starbucks, but a Timmy's before I got on the train here yesterday just hit in the perfect spot. So fantastic. Thank you again for introducing yourselves and sharing and looking stunning and gorgeous and sparkly. I'm loving this color palette. So let's get into it. How many years have you been practicing this crazy, awesome, absurd, whimsical, who knows where it's going to go, but life-changing art form called drag?
Yeah. I think this year made my 8th year practicing drag. I discovered drag at a time in my life where I was navigating the homeless system, the homeless shelter system. And so, yeah, I think for me, I just always had this innate feeling that I was meant to do drag. And I think that in my lowest, I kind of just made a conscious decision to explore that, to try to like not care anymore and try to just like try something new or something that I know that was always a part of me. And yeah, here we are. I would say I started off as a bedroom queen. You know, I was in my room just practicing makeup and just watching YouTube tutorials. And I was working at Shoppers Drug Mart at the time. And
one of my drag sisters also killed at a Shoppers Drug Mart in the makeup department. And it's a great thing when you get to do this thing called a job. Every job's important, right, at a certain time in our lives. And you get to do this thing where you get to actually put on a face, or you're encouraged to help people learn their face and learn more about your craft through an awesome thing called a job. So I think that's amazing. It helped inspire, but hone your skills as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It was around Halloween time, and I just remember just those like cheap little $25 makeup kits that would have like the eyeshadow, eyeliner, everything. Just came in like a big book, and I would run back to my room at the shelter and lock myself in there and just practice, and just utilize that shopper's discount to get as much makeup as I could.
Do both of my wonderful drag entertainers look stunning today? Round of applause, yes. Gorgeous, glamorous. So thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
How many years, my love, have you been practicing this art form of drag?
So, like, 1 year and 8 months I've been doing it and recognizing what I've been doing as drag. I've been like cross-dressing like a little bit here and there. since I think like 2016 or 17. That was when I was like, I think I was 16 when I first did it, and it was on Halloween. I remember I went to Value Village, and I thought it'd be so funny if my costume this year was me being a really hot girl cop, and I just pretended like I was a girl and saw like what everyone's reactions were.
Did you slay?
I did slay, and it was, I think still that's like my magnum opus
Yeah.
of my outfits. No, jokes aside, that was so funny at the time, and I was like, oh, it's so funny that everyone's shocked and everyone's like looking at me. And then I realized like years later, as I kept doing it, the kind of rush and excitement that I got from doing it wasn't that like people thought it was funny. It was that people not only thought it was funny, but they were like, you actually look really good and you're passing. And I'm like, oh, I've kind of wanted that for a long time. I didn't feel any other time. I didn't really give a shit about. Can I swear? Okay.
Naughty.
I didn't give a shit about like how I looked when I was trying to dress masculine. Honestly, dressing masculine for me is getting to be lazy. So, getting to dress up and like present gender in any sort of way for me is like that's what drag was for me. It was a lot of learning how to take care of myself and learning how to like care about not just how I look, but like who I am to other people. So that's kind of what it did for me. It helped me find community, and that's like a big thing for me. Community is really important. So getting to do charity events and whatnot in drag, I've been doing that for like the last year and a half.
I love that you both are touching on this because to become the truest version of yourself in drag is ultimately to put self-love and care into the human underneath the artist, the performance artist. And I want this, thank you for sharing that. I want this to lead into and segue into my next multi-layer faceted question. Self-care, mental health, bring us back to pandemic, spring. We have this wonderful art form in our life, and we were told pause. Bring me back to that moment, both of you. How did drag hold your mental health's hand throughout the pandemic?
So the funny thing is, I didn't actually have drag in my life until like right after the pandemic started clearing up.
This also includes it being in your life prior to practicing as well.
Yeah. But during the pandemic, when I didn't know what I was doing was drag, it let me experience a lot more gender euphoria than I thought was possible. I got to explore and diversify myself. And it also helped me connect to people that I'm not gonna lie, like when I was younger, I didn't really understand. Like I had a lot of internalized like queer phobia because it was like I was repressing myself. So once I started to kind of more explore all of that, I was like, I was finally able to make friends that I actually felt like I understood, and I started to build like connections with people online. Um, I did a lot of like things on streaming sites like Twitch and like video game communities and
Oh, fantastic.
yeah. And so like
Was it a childhood passion as well?
yeah, video games are like
I was a big N64 Smash Bros. Player and also played Yu-Gi-Oh! Professionally as well.
Nice.
Which ultimately, I just want to be a harpy lady when it comes to my drag one day, a beautiful mythical creature.
I ran Blue Eyes White Dragon decks.
Yes,
Yeah.
amazing.
That's actually funny you mentioned like the Smash thing. I play Smash competitively, and like the fighting game community is that, and like the drag community are like the things that make me who I am most of the time.
Mhm.
Because a lot of it is like about grassroots and like coming together. So during the pandemic, there's actually huge parallels to both communities and how they're told like you can't hang out with each other right now. You have to stay inside, and there's like this whole like um, absence of community and coming together, but we figured it out anyway. Like people were hosting shows online, people were like doing all their tutorials and making online communities
And
in drag.
combining the drag with playing as well. Ivory Towers, make some noise for Ivory Towers here in Toronto. A wonderful friend and drag entertainer really was like, hey, let's get online and let's do this thing called drag and let's play as well and let it lead to keeping artists going, but also like, you know, having what we needed ultimately was connection together in a fun way that also celebrated nostalgia. There was nothing like pulling out N64 during those hard times and those cards
Yeah.
and diving back into the inner child.
Yeah.
So
it helped me explore.
Absolutely. How about for you, my love, when it came to that moment of where you were celebrating a year longer than me at 7 years, but now 8 for you? How did you process? How did you feel? What did it feel like? And how did you hold your mental health's hand? How did drag hold your mental health's hand?
Yeah, I think for me at that time, I was coming out of the shelter system, so I was actually living with a family member, trying to like get my life together. Basically, I was living with my uncle, and he had offered for me to stay with him rent free, which who wouldn't take that in this economy?
Make some noise for uncles.
But unfortunately, my family's they hold very conservative views. So drag for me wasn't really existent during the pandemic, really. I did have a friend that I would like kind of like go to their house and kind of like dress up in to kind of like escape, sort of. But I did have an unfortunate life pivot moment for myself where my mother had passed away during the pandemic due to COVID. That was March of 2021. And she was in Accra, Ghana at the time. And I had to fly by myself to bring her home because unfortunately the Canadian government wasn't much assistance there. So we couldn't even get back her body, unfortunately. And we had to bring her back home. But in that, I remember when I came home, I just had this urge to just get in drag. And I didn't know what I was doing. I think I just sat in the house and maybe cried, but I had to feel pretty. I had to get back to what I was doing and what I was doing this all for. And yeah, it wasn't until that I think that's when drag kind of like went off as like a light bulb for me that like this is your ticket out of your shortcomings, so hone it and let's see what happens.
Amazing. Snaps and applause any moments you all feel and at home as well. Amazing. Just digesting how beautiful that all was. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So during the pandemic and leading up to it, my best friend, my brother, my sister, years prior to 7 years of drag with also my drag sister, I thank my bestie voice so much, my incredible Black Serbian mixed friend who brought ballroom into my life. And diving more into ballroom during the pandemic was a way it transformed myself, my spirituality, my drag. Did ballroom come into your life prior to pandemic, prior to even starting drag? Was it something you turned to like I did and so many people, rewatching Pose and Legendary and Paris is Burning, where for my household and my chosen family became something really fun and positive? Because Pose, for everyone that knows Pose, and please to everyone watching in the congregation, please make some time to watch Pose. It is available on Disney Plus. I'm very proud Disney Plus is putting Pose on the platform. Make some time, watch it, gift yourself that experience. It will change your life the same way it's changed mine. Did ballroom, like as I was saying first, did ballroom come into your life years earlier, during drag, or during pandemic more so, like it did for myself?
Yeah. Well, for myself, I have, I would guess, a lot of mutual friends in ballroom. So I was always kind of like surrounded by it. And I would actually say that was like one of the first places where I properly explored drag. Um, that was like the first space that once I heard that they had a drag category, and because I had been practicing, let's say, 4 or 5 years up until this point.
Which, for everyone watching, drag was not always an accepted walkable category. It came much later, actually, in the timeline of ballroom, and we're happy to have it included and served as well. So
Absolutely, yeah. So it was a lip sync category. So I'm like, perfect. So I came up with this whole idea. I fast fashioned my whole outfit, and I remember the thing about ballroom for myself, it's like a love-hate relationship, because I understand the importance of the community, and I love what it does for community. But when you bring in the sort of competition aspect to it, it does get very cutthroat and a little shallow, So for someone like myself that's very self-aware, I don't necessarily like to indulge in those types of things because it can get very catty very quickly, very mean-spirited very quickly.
what is the purpose of the competition? What is the purpose of gathering? With my stage name being Disco, I have a connection to the manifesto of the disco ball being at the center of some of the most important nights of our lives, as it was for the ballroom and still is for the ballroom communities. And it takes in all the light and shoots it back out.
Right.
What is the purpose of us gathering under that disco ball?
Absolutely.
Going back to it, that it's competition as we look at this drag race era and ballroom. I just recently made it finally to Italy for my first time, postponed by 4 years in March. And I'm very blessed I was able to go. My grandfather, my nono, Giuseppe, moved here and immigrated in 1955. And I was able to connect with one of the mothers of the first ballroom houses in Italy.
Wow.
So I'm very, very happy to see it expanding and being loved and embraced. But again, bringing it back to that thesis, like everything with drag, spirituality, and mental health, what is the purpose of us gathering under this disco ball? To kind of, in our beautiful, sassy way, calling back to the earlier conversation about, do we need to always shade and be edgy to compliment?
Right.
Is ballroom, do you feel, is it kind of going a bit too much that direction, or do we need to inject some kindness back into it?
I can't speak to that, and I don't want to discredit the hard workers that provide ballroom. I think that they do a very good job for the community. I think that it's brought a lot of people together and it's fostered a lot of great things. But for me personally, I think that my calling is a little different, to where I don't necessarily see why I would want to get involved in ballroom per se. Yeah.
Respecting it is a sport. It is a physical
exactly.
discipline, and anyone that comes from the world of sport and athletic practice as well understands there's a no pain, no gain when it comes to getting there. But there's a way to be forthright and honest while also still being kind.
Absolutely.
So there's things to draw inspiration, but to transform and make it your complete path. I think it's beautiful to be able to draw inspiration and put it into the path that you want to.
Right. And I'll just end it with this quickly, because I do remember like doing that category, and you do have to get your scores, from 1 to 10. And they'll do stuff like, like, say for instance, if me and Jericho did the lip sync, they'll give Jericho his 10s, and then I'll get like all 9s. And so for myself, I think what happens is that, when you show up authentically and you give yourself to, and this is still a vulnerable space. You don't know these people. You don't know what they could be criticizing or judging. You're going there to find acceptance. And so, for myself, I could definitely, I could recall like going up to the judges' faces, like, what do you mean a 9? Like, what do you mean I'm a 9? I'm not a 9. Like, and like, yeah. So it's just like, it could get like that very quickly. And like, not to say that it's a bad thing, because I don't think that these are things that translate back into the community per se. It's just, it stays there, and we have to respect it because it's opened so much doors for all of us.
like I said, the Barbara Walters of questions. So thank you for answering these broad questions that and being brave enough to go there. Both of you, thank you. This is supposed to be a very global community and inclusive, but exploration through discussion kind of interview and Q&A. So I'm really, really excited to be getting to ask these questions to two incredible individuals today. To continue on, I would now like to I'd like to switch over to quoting from my personal Bible. And this is my original copy from high school. Thank you to my writer's craft teacher, Andrea Rice. This is Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, and the German poet that wrote back to respond to a bunch of people that were looking everywhere and anywhere for answers. And many of you may know Gaga has a beautiful German typeface tattoo on this side. And when I finally was recommended by both Gaga and Florence through interviews, them saying, if you're looking for a book, this is your book. And both Florence Walsh from Florence and the Machine and Gaga said, this book, along with many, many other artists, and I recommend everyone picks up this book, Letters to a Young Poet, Rainer Maria Rilke. And I want to read what basically is the quote on Gaga's arm and ask you the question that I continue to ask myself all the time over the last 7 years. In the first chapter, Raina responds, "You are looking outward, and that above all you should not do. Nobody can counsel and help you. Nobody. There's only one single way. Go into yourself. Search for the reason that bids you to write. Find out whether it is spreading its roots in the deepest places of your heart, and acknowledge to yourself whether you would have to die if you were denied to write. This above all, ask yourselves in the stillest hour of the night, must I write?" In addition to the word drag potentially being in that quote, must I write? How would you like to finish that question? Is there anything outside of dragon identity or within dragon identity that you wake up and you know it runs in your veins, it's in your heart, it's in your blood, it's in your mind? Must I blank?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
I think personally, the idea of conviction or something that you know that when you wake up, not only should you do it, you have to do it. I think for me, a lot of it is like connecting with people. I think if I were unable to like empathize, connect, laugh, enjoy people's company, you know, when they deserve it, I feel like I would be a lot sadder. And whenever I can't, I definitely am a lot sadder. And doing that reflects in a lot of like things that I do in my everyday life, or anytime I get a chance to do like any sort of humanitarian work or community work. I mean, last night I actually hosted a Rocky Horror Picture Show screening in drag, which is very fun.
That's where I started my journey with drag 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Rocky Horror.
And when I was doing it, so I have just started taking HRT and like transitioning, and that's been a really awesome process for me to figure out. But I'd realized that like watching the movie and having a whole community there at a theater, coming to see this movie on Halloween, it means a lot for these people who are there. And so I thought something that I wanted to do was I just wanted to stand up on stage during my intro and just be like, if you don't feel like you can be yourself ever, I'm going to take a step for you. And I took my HRT pill there on stage in front of them. I just wanted to do it because I know that if I had seen someone do that 2 years ago when I was trying to figure everything out, I would have been like, that person's so awesome. That's inspiring. And so I'm just hoping that somebody at all felt the same way. So I feel like every day when I wake up, all I want to do is just hope that I connect with someone during my day. During the 16 hours I'm awake or whatever, however long, I hope when I have a conversation with somebody, they're always able to take something away from it, and I'm always able to take something away from what they say.
Must I connect? Amazing answer. And for you, love, must I blank?
Ooh. I have my own quote that's kind of gotten me through my own dark storms, and it's a successful man is one who could lay a firm foundation with the bricks others have thrown at him.
Oh.
And
My nono was a carpenter, so that and laid concrete and did woodwork, and so that speaks to me generationally on so many levels.
awesome. Yeah. I think for myself, the trajectory of my life has been the whole take 2 steps forward to get knocked 10 steps back. And so I think with my drag is I'm just really trying to exist. Must I exist? Can I exist? Of course, it's opened up such a Pandora's box for myself of exploring my own gender identity and what that may mean for me. So, and I'm just seeing how much gifts have bestowed on me ever since embracing it. So for me, I am trying to figure out how to exist in the world as the unique, authentic Avaiyah/Anthony that I am.
That is the exact same answer my best friend and my drag sister watching has always said. My bestie believes in just being here to exist. And I love that you answered that. Those are both amazing, amazing answers. Thank you for sharing that. I want to be able to continue on now. With this feeling we have at this part of the conversation right now, can you share a moment or any moments that you felt drag became divine? That this thing, this experience, the clothes, the fabric, the makeup, whatever you did before the gig, during the experience, during the Pride Fest, afterward, the conversation at the table, tucking yourself in the bed and the tears running down your face, looking at the moon, whatever it may be. Is there a moment you can share, or moments that you're like, this is more than just me? This is more than just,
Absolutely.
it's this.
So for those at home and those here that's not fully aware, Siren and I know each other from a show called Drag Heels that we did. And Drag Heels premiered this year on Out TV, so please check it out. So in that, for myself, when everything was going on in the pandemic and I was coming out of it, I had actually moved. So the friend that I was running to do drag, their roommate was leaving and their bedroom became available, and I ran there. And that's where I've been living now. And ever since then, I had discovered the Drag Hills audition through Facebook. And again, because I have this idea of my journey where younger me would always have wanted to be an entertainer, but not know how to do that as a little boy or a little Black boy trying to exist in this world. And now embracing my femininity, I was like, go for it. And I took the shot and got on the show. And for me, that was like okay, so like, you're not crazy. Like, you knew these things. Like, you knew you're meant to be this mega star, whatever it is that you had in your head.
Your own self-affirmation.
Right, yeah. You knew when you were 4 years old singing Fantasy by Mariah Carey on your 12th floor condo on a balcony, and your mom, just letting you just be you, or discovering Spice Girls. Like, these are all the things, and just getting on the show just proved that it was just like, okay, like, you went through some stuff, but it's just like, look, the moment you took ownership of your life, and it's just like, look what's happened. And that was just within the span of a year. So for me, I try not to focus on the, what could have been and stuff like that. But it's definitely one of those eye-opening moments, just like, wow, like, how I could only imagine where my life would have been had I just been more authentic earlier.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, right now is about a year since we started filming. Yeah, November, I think 14th. That was our first day on set. I think for me, when drag I was like, okay, maybe this is something that's meant to stick around in my life. Honestly, I would say at the start of this month, I struggle a lot with things kind of like not sticking around for me as hobbies or passions. A lot of times because I kind of just like, I beat myself up and I'm like, it's not supposed to stick around. I can't waste my time on this. This isn't meant for me. And usually a lot of that comes from self-doubt. But I was going to go on hiatus with drag and stop doing it after this show that I did on October 4th, where I was just hosting. It was like a battle of the bands thing that I was just hosting in drag, and I was gonna stop because life is getting really busy, and I just thought maybe it's not worth it if whenever I think about drag, I think I'm not good enough to like have this be something that is a priority in my life. But when I was at the show, this one attendee came up to me and they were just like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. They seemed a little queer. And so I think there was a little bit of an awakening there. They were like, that was so inspirational. You're so beautiful. Thank you for that. I didn't know I needed that. That was so awesome. And like I said, like connecting is important to me. And even if I'm not doing it and I'm not actively choosing to do drag every week, every month, knowing that I'm not going to give up on it, that's really important. So to that person, when they said thank you for this, I didn't know I needed that. I also say thank you. I didn't know I needed that too.
Amazing. And just remember too, whatever it looks like, you are the sculptor of your own museum. It can have 10,000 sculptures. It can have one. As long as you just continue to create along your journey, you define your own journey. You define your own path. Some of you watching at home may look forward to being here next year, may look forward to being here for the 5th anniversary, the 10th anniversary, maybe just virtually, maybe every year in person. You are still an artist. You are still practicing this queer art form, drag, and all the umbrella layers of queer performance expression. You are valid no matter what, no matter how often, as long as you do. So, leading into my next question, we all have something or someone in our hearts. This is the part of the summit, like this morning, King Jules, that I knew when I got around to this part of this discussion, I was going to have to hold it together talking about grandparents. And having just come back from a trip to Hungary to explore my Hungarian side, thanks to my wonderful friend, Ellie, I love you, and getting to share with my Hungarian grandmother about our great-grandmother who lived to 103, and she enjoyed a warm Pepsi every day of her life here in Canada. Warm, every day. So between that and my Nono's bravery coming over in 1955 with this opportunity to 32 years later be here in this moment. I appreciate both of them, while knowing my drag was born out of my grandmother, my Nona, Grace Rose, which is why I wear these very special rose rings. We were talking about our rings backstage. And I brought a picture, one of my favorite pictures. This is my Nona, and this is me at 3 with a yo-yo, not knowing that life was very much going to feel. This is my Nona, Grace Rose. My Sicilian, Sicilia, grandmother. Very, very strange for someone from the north and the south to get together. So I feel like I have this like mystic side in my blood, because when I was in Sicily in March, something felt different. Yeah. I felt alive, and I actually debuted disco in Budapest, Hungary, just a couple the weeks, the last week of September. But my Nona ultimately inspired my drag name, and with my name being Disco Jesus Windsor, in prom in 2010, my prom in 2010, I made a disco mirror tie. That was my fashion piece, my statement, my declaration, being like, I'm here and I'm queer. And that tie has followed me around to so many musical, like doing musicals and cast parties, and front row Beyonce concert back in 2012, taking the 1 a.m. Greyhound back from Toronto to get back for work with my bestie. And that tie's been everywhere with me. But ultimately, my Nona inspired, who passed in 2011. And my Nono passed 2 weeks after my trip to Italy, and I got to tell him I went. And he said, Adamo, what do you think? And I said, you left all of this for us? Thank you. So ultimately, my drag is a love letter to my Nona. And I want to quote the incredible Maya Angelou during a post-secondary graduation, when Maya said, bring your ancestors with you. So who do you feel continues to walk this life with you from beyond? Or maybe someone in a different part of the world that when you both look at the moon, you're connected. Who is that person?
Okay, guys, are you ready for this? So, 4 days before my mom's 1 year anniversary of her death, my grandmother passed, her mom. So, to be honest, right now, what I'm going through, I really do feel like I'm going through some sort of divine intervention because of those two deaths. And I can't fully make it out in my head yet, but the spiritual knowledge that I've obtained ever since both of their deaths have been so profound in my life, and it's become so strong and motivating. When she had passed, I started to see the angel number 111. And I saw it literally everywhere. When I was going to the funeral home, it was one of the bus numbers. I always catch it on my phone now. Like it's always there, and it's come to the point now where, like, because of how profound it was around her time, it's just like, I know that's you, Grandma. Like, I know you're trying to communicate to me this way somehow. Whatever. Yeah. But now, like, whenever I do see 111, I always just say, like, thank you, Grandma. Like, thank you. Thank you for still thinking of me. And if you are visiting me and if you are still present, thank you. Thank you for everything. So I feel like my grandmother was the woman who instilled a lot of she instilled the good morals, the good characteristics in me. And even though growing up Catholic didn't really resonate with me a lot, she's the person who taught me how to be a good person. And if anything, who's teaching me, although I've had a crappy life, like, just try your best not to project that into the world. That was her whole thing, was just like, don't have drugs company and, all those things that grandmas say, right? So I feel like she's the person right now that's kind of like driving this spiritual journey for me right now. So, I have my altar set up for them both now, and I'm practicing tarot and crystals, and I've become very enthralled in energy work and stuff like that. And it's crazy because I think like we hear these types of things where it's these types of situations like death that kind of initiate these things for people in their life. And as much as I try to as much as I know that I have good coping mechanisms to deal with their debts, there is a part of me that just like questions like, hey, like is this like happening all for me? Like, did this have to happen like in this particular way, in this particular order, in order for me now to live my life?
Without fully believing in overarching destiny, is this potentially part of the entire journey and process?
Right.
And the power of hindsight to be able to look back and then be able to be like, oh, I get it now.
Right.
Thank you. Right? It's powerful when you can look back with the power of hindsight and you're like, it all makes sense now.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's happening for me right now, where it's just like I'm 30 and I there's nothing I could have done to prepare for my mother's passing. But again, like just embracing who I am now, I'm so excited for my future. And I'm so excited for what's to come and what I'm working towards and what's going to come for me. So I know I'm going to look back one day and be like, okay, like, I don't know why it had to happen that way, but it is what it is. And I accept the situation for what it is. And hopefully I could just make them both happy in their afterlife. And hopefully we can meet each other once again after.
Yes. And for you, love?
Ask me again in 10 years.
And that's okay. That's an honest, acceptable answer that we don't always have the answer or feel like we have it or know it, or it's still unfolding and manifesting itself.
Yeah, it catches me every time when I think like I'm actually so young, and that's so weird because it feels like all the time that I wish I had that, because all the time I feel like I'm running out of time. But knowing that I'm not, in some sort of way, like that's also just as comforting. Like instead of having someone that I'm connected to that is helping guide me through life, even if they're not here, sometimes knowing that I have so much time before that kind of person or connection shows up in my life is also driving me. Being willing to be brave and jump into the unknown helps me just as much as having someone give me wisdom. But it's still scary.
Absolutely. And you hold on, you enjoy the ride. I want to finish with a bit of a flash round questionnaire. As you could tell, I'm very inspired by iconic, amazing interviewers and people that were brave enough in this journey of life and timeline to ask very poignant questions. And I'm very inspired by James Lipton, who used to host a show inside the Actors Studio, and would finish with this quick questionnaire. We'll do flash round, and then we'll get to the final answer that I screened with both of you and look forward to your answer. So we're going to finish with James Lipton's questionnaire at the end of interviews from inside the Actors Studio, and just answer the first thing that comes to mind. And we'll do flash round right now before the great final question. And we'll wrap it up, Sean. Thank you. What is your favorite word?
Ooh, fuck. You know what? What word do I use a lot? Hungry.
What is your least favorite word?
Ooh.
I'm still in college, so homework.
Homework.
Ooh, emotional. Do not call me
when someone
emotional.
said, yeah.
Oh, please don't call me emotional.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
What turns me on?
What turns you on
Uh,
creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
when someone can communicate like what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're doing. Communication in those three, that's cool.
Music inspires me.
What turns you off?
Oh, bad teeth.
bad smell. Oh my gosh. That smell is horrible.
What sound or noise do you love?
Sounds? Do we
Sound or noise do you love?
love? Ooh,
Cats meowing.
Cats
I love
meowing.
cats meowing.
yeah, cats. For me,
Jules, I've had such a great time staying with your mentor, Kristen. The cats are so cute, and I've loved their meowing. Oh, I wanted to bring them today when I walked out the door. They're so cute.
when my air fryer goes off.
Yes! Everyone at home, yes. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, air fryer came in my life during pandemic, changed my life. What sound or noise do you hate?
Arguing.
Did you both say arguing at the same time?
No, I was gonna say when my alarm goes off.
When the alarm goes off. And arguing. What profession other than your own, whether drag or anything else other than artistic life, would you like to attempt?
Ooh. I would like to operate a trans-only day spa, an esthetician spa.
I need that.
Sorry?
So smart.
This was. Oh, awesome! Great, awesome. Yeah, give me 5 years or so. We'll see what happens.
Also providing tax receipts as well. And for you, love?
I would love. I honestly, I would love to be just another entertainer of some sort. Like I love doing this in any sort of fashion. So that, or like I would want to be the best at something like super niche. Like I'm so competitive, so I would want to be the best at something, and I just be like, I want someone years later to just be like that. She's the GOAT. She is the greatest of all time at this specific thing, even if it's like hot dog eating. That would be me. I don't care what it is.
A hot dog real bad. Looks like the 4th of July. Anyways, so we're going to go to... Okay. And last final question that I screened with both of you answering. If heaven exists, whether you believe in it or not, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God, the divine, the universe say when you arrive at the pearly white gates?
I would love to hear God simply just say welcome. I think just I wouldn't want to hear an explanation. Maybe they say we do have a discussion with him to look back on our life, but the first thing I want to see him maybe in that maybe welcome, and I maybe just some affirmation that whatever this life was worth it.
And for you, love?
If we're talking like Old Testament Christian God, I want that guy to say sorry. Dude, have you seen what that guy does? Also, if I showed up any sort of divine, I also want them to say sorry, because like you're gonna put me through all this. Oh my gosh. And then I just want like a firm hug and like thanks for coming here. That's all I want. Just a nice you're home now.
Amazing. And for all of you in the audience and at home as well, it's a great question. However you feel, connect, believe, identify with that question to ask. And my answer is not changed. It's always stage door on the left, and you're known as having a glass of white at the bar on the right.
Awesome.
So on that note, thank you, everyone. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause, everyone at home. And just a little card for both of you. Thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining for this Dragon Spirituality and Mental Health Q&A. Thank you so much. We have so much more programming throughout the weekend. Please stay tuned. I'm your host, Disco Jesus Windsor. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you at the next activity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Thank you.